Hi guys, in this separate little video to the Vostok review, I'm going to be going through the process of regulating the Vostok, and this same process applies to any mechanical watch or even pocket watch or similar. And I'm going to be doing the regulating with a Timegrapher. Timegraphers are actually readily available very cheaply these days, and if you have or intend to start having a collection of mechanical watches, even if you're not particularly into digging into the guts of them yourself, it's a very handy thing to have just for regulating your watch. And for the process, it's relatively simple. All you'll need is a tool to remove your case back. Ideally a pair of gloves, some finger cots or something like that, if just in case you're going to be touching anything with your fingers, or to try and use tweezers where possible alternatively. And if you fix your watch in the Timegrapher and then remove the case back, and then we switch on the Timegrapher, moving the oscillating weight out of the way so that we can actually see the balance wheel. Now naturally the watch is face down in this position, so what you will have needed to have done beforehand is actually tested it in all of the positions that are appropriate to your usage, and work out an average and figure out how much you're going to adjust the movement up or down accordingly. Down here you can now see the balance cock, the balance wheel that's spinning, the stud lever where I'm pointing there with my bit of wooden, my pegwood or wooden skewer, and the regulating lever, which is this one here. And then up over here on the balance cock, you'll notice you have a minus and a plus. If you want to increase the rate, if you want to make it go faster, you need to move the regulating lever that way, which moves this pointer towards the plus. If you want to slow it down, you need to move it the other way. Now we're wanting to slow this down, so we need to move it very gradually the other way. Now when I say very gradually, I really truly do mean very gradually. The biggest mistake most people make when regulating a watch is they make large movements with the regulating lever, and even what might seem a small movement to you when you're not used to it can add up to 10-20 minutes a day of difference. So you need to start by moving it in very tiny increments. I'm actually just going to mute the sound on the Timegrapher there, because obviously that's ticking away in the background, and when I'm trying to talk it's a little bit annoying. So I'm just going to use a loop to get in close here if I can around the camera, because you do want to try and avoid poking things into the balance wheel. And I've just given that a bit of a nudge, and that might actually be a bit much. And I'm just looking at the Timegrapher results, and it is currently, actually that's not bad. That did seem a bit more of a nudge than I intended, but I do think I've nudged that into the minus portion now. I believe that's going to be losing. That's actually dropped to, yeah, that's currently dropped to minus 10 seconds per day. So I need to give that a very slight nudge back the other way, because this is a personal preference thing as well. You can, if you wish, set your watch so that it's losing slightly per day, I personally prefer, if it's going to be one or the other, I prefer it to be gaining very slightly per day rather than losing, and that's just because it's something I'm used to, so it's a bit of a personal preference thing. And it's kind of unusual because on the rare occasions I do wear one of my quartz watches, I'm so used to assuming that it's gained a few seconds in a day that it's quite unusual to see that the time is incredibly accurate, that as you get with decent quality quartz watches. So I'm just trying to do this while I'm not talking. And again, I think I've pushed that way too far. This is much more tricky than I expected with the camera being so close. And yeah, way too far now. That's gaining plus 60 seconds or so per day. So and after each small adjustment, you do need to allow the Timegrapher time to settle down and pick up the new rate. And it will take a few seconds to settle back to that rate, so still need to go this way a little. Sometimes it's helpful to stop and restart the Timegrapher as well, so it picks it up fresh. And as said, this is actually easier without the camera in the way, because you can use a loop and you can get in really close and see exactly what you're doing, and you can see the minutest of movements as well, which is incredibly hard to do when I'm trying to do this with the camera, which is sitting right above the watch movement. So obviously I'm trying to be very wary of poking my pokey stick into the workings. And that is going back down, so we just need to keep working at that. Looks to be averaging out about plus 10. So what I'm going to do for the moment is put the case back on. And before I do that, I'm just going to turn the watch down and give it a blow with the air puffer. Don't ever use your breath. Just a point of note, don't ever blow with your mouth into anything, because the breath coming out of your mouth is moist. It's hot air that's coming out of, that you're exhaling from your body. It has moisture in it, and not to mention the possibility of spitting unpleasant things into your working components. So don't ever blow with your mouth into anything. Use a little air blower. Don't use cans of compressed air. It's too powerful, and also it has a tendency to freeze because of the propellant. So get yourself a little bulb blower. They're very cheap. You can get them from camera shops and the like, and they're incredibly useful. I will tweak that very slightly and just increase that by about plus 5 seconds in the dial down position, which should get me much closer to where I want to be. It is quite possible to regulate it manually, as described, and it's just tedious, and something like a Timegrapher will make that much easier. You can get apps for your phone, but the ones that are supposed to be decent do require a piezo microphone, because the built-in microphone on your phone is just not good enough. I've tried a couple of free apps and they're not good enough. It's as simple as that. You have to be in a super quiet room, and even then I've had variances in reading when I've taken an average of say 5 on the trot in comparison with the Timegrapher. So I would recommend, if you're serious about it and you have a few mechanical watches, just for the sake of regulating, if nothing else, get yourself a Timegrapher, well worth it. And if not, as I say, it's just a case of doing it the slow way, which what you can do, what a lot of people do I know, is they will take a digital quartz watch, which is known to be accurate. They will set their mechanical watch according to that. They will regulate it to a position they think is good, and then they will actually time that against their quartz watch and see how much it gains or loses over a set period. Really, you want to be doing it over at least an hour, but ideally more, to try and get an average over a 24-hour period, to give an idea of how many seconds you're gaining or losing, or even minutes you're gaining and losing per day, and see which direction you need to go in. So it is time consuming, but it's possible. So hopefully that was useful to you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.